Hello, I'm Michelle, Director of Ministry at St. Thomas the Apostle Church in Ann Arbor, and I am here today with Joey McCoy, who is a member of our parish, and I'm very excited to have Joey on this little show interview because Joey's a good friend of mine, and I really love Joey. So, Joey, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do around St. Thomas.
Yeah, I'm married, two kids. I've lived in Ann Arbor for most of my life, very long time. Went to University of Michigan, went to med school here as well, and then after med school, sort of for a long time felt the Lord calling me to something different, and so I hopped out of the medical world and started working for Renewal Ministries, which is headquartered here in town as well, associated with Ralph Martin and Peter Herbeck.
Mm-hmm.
I started going to St. Thomas. I was a longtime Christ the King guy, and then started going to St. Thomas. I was always going to St. Thomas for daily mass, and then started becoming a member of St. Thomas. I think it was 5 years ago or so when I started to get more kind of heavily involved in ministry stuff within St. Thomas, with Beth Spizzarni and Father Tony when he was here. We've been members ever since, and I'm still going to daily mass all the time at St. Thomas and often around the parish. I was involved for a while in starting a community of young adults who were living a very intentional, evangelistic way of life, living as a family in some way, really trying to live in a lot of familial rhythms and things like that, and also living a very specific mission together to evangelize and bring the church to young adults living in Ann Arbor without kids. That was mainly our very specific mission context. Okay. And that was very wonderful, very, very fruitful. It was a St. Thomas thing that I think not many people at St. Thomas knew about, but
it carries on today, right? This is the Missional Community.
Yeah, carries on today, and yeah.
Yeah, I think I just got an email this week saying that the leadership of that had changed. So hopefully we'll get someone on here to talk about that. But you're no longer involved in Missional Community, yes? Mainly, it sounds like because you had kids.
That was not the main reason. No, we had kids the whole time. Actually, okay. we were the one entity within that had kids.
Okay.
No, for different reasons. Mainly just kind of the Lord seeming to speak in a different direction and call me to something different. Very, very similar but different. I now head up a ministry called Zion, which is a young guys ministry that has high school guys, college guys, and guys in their 20s, all kind of in a similar sort of way. It's living certain ways of life together in kind of a hierarchical way, because there's lots of different age groups. A lot of the mainly focused on helping guys in high school learn Jesus. Is mainly we've tried to be very specific about how does a young guy learn Jesus, and we try to do that. Involves a lot of apprenticeship type stuff, and we have the what Zion is essentially a collection of these things we call tribes, and the tribes consist of guys in 9th grade through 12th grade, and then a college guy usually, and then led by 3 or 4 young adult guys who are in their 20s, and I sort of personally mentor those young adult guys who are leading the tribes. And then the tribes do various different things throughout the year to they live a way of life together that is kind of concretized in certain practices and things like that to try to help us all put on Christ, as Paul talks about, really learn him. And yeah.
Did you get your verbiage from the Psalms, like here the tribes go up to Zion, to the mountain of the Lord? Is that where you got that terminology?
The terminology tribes didn't come from there, but Zion came from there.
Okay.
Yeah, that we from the very beginning, when we were just a group of guys, a group of young adult guys, had no idea what this thing was going to look like. We just sort of felt the Lord pulling us in this direction to see what might come about here, some kind of young guys ministry involving high schoolers. And because of my experience in the missional community, I kind of, a lot of us had it in us from the very beginning of, well, it's going to have to be something like tribes or squads or
Something very
teams.
manly, very, very manly, right?
Well, it's also very feminine too. The families, there's going to have to be some kind of, but yeah, for masculine structure, it's going to have to be. It can't just be this amorphous blob of young people. Guys, especially, do not work that way. Especially young guys, they need a team and a coach, right? We understand that in almost every other part of life, but for some reason we don't understand that mostly in religious education and in passing on the faith and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, essentially we're just like sort of trying to rebuild the natural neighborhood network of relationships where you have guys who are trying to grow in the faith, and there's guys a couple steps ahead of them who are definitely not perfect, but they're a couple steps ahead of them, just trying to help them, older brothers, older cousins, that type of thing, just trying to help them come up into the faith, which is in a relationship with Jesus, which is really it's bestowed, very much, especially for men. It is bestowed. It is an inheritance. It comes from someone who has it upon the shoulders and into the hands of someone who doesn't. It does not happen by osmosis. A guy very much needs an older guy saying, "Come, follow me." Jesus only said that to guys. He never said that to women in the Gospels. So I think there's something hopefully that we learn from that, I think. Yeah, so that's what I'm doing now.
Yeah, and so just to clarify, Zion, Joey, is a regional initiative, right? It's not just a St. Thomas. You have boys in it and young men who are not just from St. Thomas, correct?
Definitely, yeah. It's an outreach of Renewal Ministries, so that includes many different guys from many different parishes around the Ann Arbor, Ypsi region. Yeah.
Well, we're really happy that St. Thomas kind of our hub. I can see that you're here.
Yeah.
You're here all the time,
we are,
guys. So.
Yeah. They're all the time with the high school, with the tribes, and they're all the time for like one-on-one meetups with the tribe leaders. Yeah. And I definitely, St. Thomas does feel like a certain home for it all. Absolutely.
Well, great. Thank you. Thank you for sharing about that. I hear in that, kind of like in everything you've done, Joey, is very relational. And if there's anything I know about you, you are a relational person, and that's a lot like Jesus. So good job for sharing your life and your faith with other men. I would love to get you back on a video to talk about your calling into ministry, because clearly that's a story in and of itself. Very difficult to get into U of M medical school. Very, very high honor. And just the fact that you walked away from that and did something else, I'm sure is a fascinating story. But for another day, for the Lord. So that's all we need to say today. Anyway, we're in the year of the Bible. And so to close out this interview, I was hoping you could share with us a Bible verse, a Bible passage, a story that has particular meaning for you in your life.
Yeah, so recently, this one has stuck out a lot, from Luke chapter 8, verse 15, in which Jesus says, "Blessed are they who have kept the word with a generous heart and bring forth fruit through perseverance." Relates very much to Luke 1, Mary talking, Luke 1 and Luke 2, where Mary ponders it in her heart, right? That I think that sort of thing was very meaningful for St. John Henry Newman, who I read this verse through,
Mhm.
and just the church throughout the ages has, and each individual member of the church, you and I, all of us, we have to come to a deeper entrenchment into things through things we don't understand, just like Mary. But when the things that we don't understand happen, just like Mary, may we ponder them in our heart. May we keep them in our heart with may we keep the word with a generous heart. And in sort of this listening, it's almost, the heart is a very listening thing in this verse, right? And it listens, it hears the word, and it holds fast to it. It holds on to it. So the heart, in a certain way, what begins through faith, right? Begins through listening, and really listening, and a kind of an obedient listening, just seeking, just like Mary, just seeking to do what the will of God reveals itself to be, and uh, and then that yields fruit. The listening there brings to sight. Faith gives way to sight. It gives way to fulfillment, realization, understanding, a deeper knowledge, deeper knowing of God. And yeah, these are the I don't know. I guess in some sense here, there's the hidden core, the reactive center of the church, and certainly of the only way to live, listening to God, and obeying, seeking to obey and seeking to be conformed to His will, and but it takes being willing to have it takes a generous heart, right? It takes a generous heart that is willing to suffer, that is willing to be stretched out a long time of not understanding, of not seeing the realization of things, of persevering, right? What is that like? If you break down perseverance, or going through something severe, that
Oh,
heart that
praise
is
yourself, persevere.
something like that. Yeah, I haven't looked that up, but just looking at the word,
Seems like a word
uh,
definition of perseverance.
yeah, um, yeah, being willing to go through go through the severe thing that it means to come to live in God. There's a massive transformation that must happen before we are able to be able to live in God. Before we're able to be turned into Him, as the fathers of the church talk about. So yeah, there's a challenge to all of it, and the way that basically how that challenge comes upon us is the way of faith, the way of hearing and obeying, putting into practice, so that at some point, realization, fulfillment, sight, being, something new comes into existence. This is so much the Marian part of the Marian dimension of the church, right? Which is the dimension of the church. So I love it.
Well, it certainly does speak to you, because you have done some radical things after listening to the Lord and kind of struck off in a new direction several times already. And I know, Joey, that you're a man of prayer. I see you at daily mass, see you in the chapel. Joey and I used to have sort of like a territorial war on the rectory chapel.
Yeah,
It'd be like, no, this is my
yeah,
chapel. No, it's my chapel. And now it's
yeah,
Father Gerald's chapel. So, so
yeah. Right.
we're all out. But he wins. He wins.
Yeah,
But yeah, I know you're a man of prayer who's always spending time listening to God. So I'm very inspired by that. And thank you for coming on today to talk to our parishioners. And
yeah.
God bless you and all that you're doing.
Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you.